guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you a video that I did about this time last year because I thought it would be fun to do. What I've done is I have gone back through all of my 2019 TBR videos that I made throughout the year of 2019 and pulled out the books that I put on TBRs but didn't read. I definitely found a trend that this typically happens with readathons because I always want to, especially the readathons that have specific prompts, I always want to like put a book for each prompt, which ends up being like 5 to 7 books, and I just don't read that much in a week. I just don't. So the majority of these are from that, but there were a couple that were from just like my regular monthly TBRs that for one reason or another I didn't get to. So I'm going to share them with you now. They are The Books That Got Away 2019. So the first book that is on my list, this is interesting because it's actually on my TBR for this month. So I know I'm going to read this one. But the book is The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. I had put this on, I believe it was my Reading Rush TBR because it had like 5+ words in the title. And yeah, I just never got to it. So yeah, this is a World War II historical fiction. It is told through letters, and that's all I really know about it. Yeah, I plan on reading it this month. Another historical fiction that made my little list here was one that I had on my book list readathon TBR that I didn't get to, and that is Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosnay. This is a World War II historical fiction. This time though, it takes place in France, and it deals with a young girl named Sarah who she and her family are pulled from France because they are Jewish. And in an attempt to save her younger brother, she hides him in a bedroom cupboard and promises to come back for him. So it deals with that, and also it flashes forward 60 years, and there's a present day story that also centers around Sarah. So I've heard this story is really sad. Really sad, but I don't know why I didn't get to it. Maybe we'll try to read it this winter or this spring because that tends to be when I really like historical fiction. The next book is a nonfiction book. This was another one that was on my book list readathon TBR that I didn't quite get to, and that is The Fact of a Body by Alexandria Marzano-Lesnevich. And this is a memoir that Alexandria wrote about her experience with she was a intern. I believe she was going through law school and was doing an internship, and basically she goes into this internship with very strong opinions about the death penalty, but then she gets involved in this case where this murderer, she starts digging into his I'm assuming his home life, his background, and it kind of shakes her beliefs a bit. I've heard this book is very dark, and that it obviously deals with some very heavy and polarizing topics. I mean, the death penalty has always been one of those topics that people feel very passionately about. So this is going to be an interesting read. I really want to read this, but I don't know when I will get to it, to be honest. I have so many nonfiction books on my TBR, but this one definitely, I've heard so many good things about this that maybe I will bump it up and read it sometime in 2020. This next one is probably the biggest surprise for me that I'm like, why didn't I read this book when I put it on my TBR? Because, as many of you know, I am working my way through this man's catalog, and I don't know what I'm waiting for. I meant to read not the entire book, 4 Past Midnight by Stephen King, but I wanted to read The Langoliers, which is the first novella in this book. There are 4 novellas in here. The Langoliers is the first one, and I think it's the longest one. It's like a 250-page novella. Is that even considered a novella? I don't even know. But anyway, I put this on a TBR sometime in the summer, and I just forgot about it, didn't read it, I don't know. So yeah, I definitely should push myself to read this year because I am trying to get through his books. The thing is though, I'm trying to read in order as much as I can. So this one, I think I might jump a little bit out of order. I'd have to look again and see which comes first, because I think the next novel I'm supposed to read from him is The Dark Half, because I think, if I'm going chronologically, I think that's the next one. I may have skipped that one and read something else. So yeah, The Dark Half for sure, which I don't even have. I don't even physically own. But then I think this is the next like collection of his that I'm due to read. So yeah, I don't think I will sit and read this straight through, but maybe kind of periodically throughout the year read a novella until I eventually get all 4 completed. The next 3 books that I did not read during 2019 that I had wanted to are all from my nonfiction November TBR, because I picked a lot of different nonfiction books that month because I just wasn't sure what I was feeling. And it's funny because the book I ended up going with is one that I DNF'd, so I should have picked one of these 3, I guess. The first one is a very popular memoir called Running with Scissors by Augustin Burroughs. This is Augustin Burroughs rehashing his childhood, and I believe it was a very unconventional one. He grew up in a house, I believe one or both of his parents had issues with depression and mental illness, I believe. So I've heard this one it's funny but also sad and also dark. It's kind of one of those books that does a little bit of both. So I don't know. It seems like it's something I would like. And I've had this one for a while. Like I feel like this is the year I need to read it. Then the other 2 nonfiction books that I didn't get to, the first one that I was on the fence about this one anyway, is Kosmos by Carl Sagan. This is a very popular science nonfiction book that honestly intimidates the crap out of me because I'm not really into science that much, but this book I've heard is really good, fascinating. I've watched the show Kosmos, and the one with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I just don't know how I will get along with this one, but at the same time I feel like it would be such an accomplishment to complete this. So maybe not a 2020 read, maybe not, because like I said, I do have a lot of other nonfiction on my TBR that I would love to get to, but this one definitely I want to read someday. And then the last nonfiction book is The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This is a book that talks about a serial killer that was wreaking havoc in the late 1800s during the Chicago World's Fair. I've heard this one is very interesting, and he goes very much into detail about the World's Fair and the history of the World's Fair and all of that sort of thing, which is interesting. I'm wondering though if maybe this one would serve me better on audio. I don't know. Let me know. Those of you that have read this, what do you think? Is it more of an audio type of nonfiction book, or can I physically read it? I don't know. We'll see. This is another one that I feel like I need to read because it's such a well-known and well acclaimed nonfiction book that I feel like I just need to knock it out. And then the very last book on my list was one that I had put on my Buzzwordathon round 5 TBR that I did not get to. It's a graphic novel, and it is American Vampire Volume 2 by Scott Snyder, Raphael Albuquerque, and Matthias Santaluco. I read Volume 1 in October, I think, and that might have been during Spookathon that I read Volume 1. This one is a continuation of that story, obviously. The first one took place in the 1920s. This one takes place in the 1930s, and it deals with vampires. And so you have the background of like what was going on in America at the time, but then you have this vampire story. So yeah, I feel like this is going to be a really cool series. Hopefully one that I can try to get through the entire series in 2020. So I should probably put this one on a TBR in the near future to just get going on that series. All right, guys, so those are all the books that I meant to read in 2019, but didn't. Please let me know down below if you had any books that you had really, really wanted to read in 2019 and they just didn't make the cut for one reason or another. Please let me know. I would love to know what those books were from you guys. And if you've read any of these books in my little stack and you think that I should really bump one above the other, let me know which ones I should prioritize and try to knock out in 2020. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. I hope that you're having a wonderful week, and I'll chat with you very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.